AskReddi by Therapist's Couch. What is the most out of touch thing an older person has told you? In Southern California, my aunt, who heard we still rent, was like, "You don't have to buy a new home, just get yourself a $200 K-starter home and fix it up." I was like, starter homes that need fixing up in LA are like $1.2 million starting. As somebody who left OC 6 years ago due to housing. Yes. Lol. Fixer-upper back then were $510K. My dad. At Christmas, if I need, I can sell my pain meds on the black market and make a fortune. Me. Where is this black market? Dad. eBay. Fuck's sake. He'll use the dark web. That is, he'll switch his browser to dark mode when he goes to eBay. I've become the mediator between my boomer mom and millennial daughter. When my mom was complaining that my daughter never takes her advice on parenting, I asked her if she took the advice her older relatives offered when she was raising me. Her answer, without any irony, was but their advice didn't apply because times were different by then. You just answered your own question, Ma. Edited, spelling. From a parent: when we die, you can just fly over here and move in for 6 months while you figure out what to do with all of our stuff. Sure, and what income will I have after I need to quit my job to do this? You can retire because surely all the knickknacks they've collected have skyrocketed in value. They're doing you a favor. My dad visited me in the restaurant I was working in at the moment during peak hours and said, "Just tell your boss you're taking your break now and sit with me." Yeah, that's not how it works. My dad has come to visit me, uninvited, at every job I've ever had. From gas station cashier to administrative assistant. When I would have to interrupt his conversation to do my job, he would say with an annoyed tone, "Okay, I see you're busy." Yes. That's what we do at work, Dad. That he raised me and my siblings so he doesn't see why it's so difficult for us. He was an every other weekend dad for me, and my siblings have lived in a different state from him since elementary school. OMG, my dad was the same way. I recently had a conversation with him where he said I was a very active parent. I came home to you every day. But all he did was work. He didn't cook, clean, help us with homework, make me feel better when sad, help me with bullies, do my hair, guide me to handle relationships or problems, help me develop hobbies or character. He only paid bills. If he wasn't screaming at us for not cleaning, he was not interacting with us. I truly don't think my dad knows any of us. He still calls us by the wrong names. My stepmother and bio mother raised us. But he is convinced he was an active parent because he came home at night. Every time my mother says I read it on Facebook and acts like it's cold hard truth. One of my mom's friends believes everything on Facebook and the internet is a lie. My thought, well, if your daughter didn't lie on Facebook every single time she made a post. Double quote. Just walk in and hand them a resume. They will hire you on the spot. If that doesn't work, offer to work for free to get your foot in the door. Anything my dad says about money. His mom was a widow and remarried an eventually wealthy man, who helped my dad bankroll his own business, which my dad turned into a considerable net worth. He thinks everyone has access to startup capital because it happened to him. He thinks everyone should be at his level financially. He thinks everyone pays cash for everything. He is so out of touch with reality because it stopped affecting him for so long, and he just doesn't understand why everyone doesn't do what he did. If he thinks everyone should do what he did, doesn't that mean fathers should bankroll their kids' businesses? It kinda seems like his own advice is saying that he should be forking over the cash for you to get ahead in life. My mother said to me just a few days ago that a down payment for a house isn't that hard to save up for. I told her I barely have $5 grand saved up so far. She insisted that that is more than enough. I had to stress that 20% down has been the norm in our area since the 2008 crash. She hasn't bought property since the 90s. My mom argued with me on percentage rates until I showed her 3 different mortgage rate calculators showing that because houses in the PNW are going for $600 K plus that our current mortgage would almost triple if me move. A woman told me, I always see you reading books. You'll never get a man if you're too smart. They don't like that sort of thing. Was she gassed on? Minimum wage jobs are entry level, mostly for high schoolers to get a foot in the working world. If you want a better job you have to work for it. So I said okay, so, if it's for high schoolers it should run on high school time, right? So, every minimum wage job should be closed from 7-3 and from 8 PM on. So, who's making the coffee? Or fixing your hamburger for lunch? He had no response and quickly changed the subject. Kids aren't expensive at all. Haha, okay grandpa. My grandmother didn't like female cats and dogs because they don't have good morals and want sex all the time. Ah yes, those degenerate slutty checks notes, cats and dogs. Your side job is waiting tables at a senior retirement home? You have a college degree. You should apply to run the place. The current director has a master's in that related field. Yeah, back when merely having a degree was a mark of character. Young people have no pride left. Why do they think it's okay to still live with their parents at 20? The average age to move out of a parent's home in the UK is 35. Because there's a rental crisis and a housing crisis, especially in non-English countries, partially because the retired English keep buying second homes in Wales, Scotland and NI. Wages have barely increased but rent and mortgages have increased extreme amounts, and this is because of their generation. Why older people don't understand this concept is beyond me. I once had a similar convo with my dad. I told him $1 when he was young was worth way more than it is now. I told him inflation is a thing, and he just said no, that's not it, and proceeded to not provide any counter argument and instead just said people are lazy. My grandpa spent a good 15 minutes on Christmas Day having a rant about female commentators and sport. About how they just don't shut up, as though it's not literally their job to talk about football or something. There was a study that showed that men think women are dominating a conversation if men are doing less than 70% of the talking. https://twitter.com/messagecook/7364318921828925444?lang. My great-grandmother told me how to give myself a knitting needle abortion. She thought that was important information for a 7-year-old to know. That's fucked up. I had the opposite from a relative who got into an argument with other grown adults who are pro-choice and decided to drag me, a child, into the argument. I was told in no uncertain terms that when I'm pregnant in the future, if my life is in danger, she hopes I'll die rather than get an abortion. Felt good to hear that a hypothetical fetus is more important than my life at a young age. Well, when being gay was invented in the 60s. Back in my day, we didn't have gays or straights, we just picked a warm hole and sometimes a baby would fall out. My boomer ex-father-in-law was ashamed of the fact that my son, his grandson, is epileptic. He tried to forbid me from referring to his seizures as seizures, and instead call them episodes, so people wouldn't know. No. I'm not going to trivialize a potentially life-threatening condition so that your golf buddies don't think less of your descendants and subsequently, your gene pool. Calling it an episode will prevent him getting the medical attention he would need in an emergency. I was told by my own mom, who's 61, that I shouldn't tell anyone that I have anything wrong with me, because if they found out I had mental problems they'd lock me up and never let me out. To be fair, the mental health care system used to be brutal, especially for women when their husbands could have them committed for literally nothing. My grandma tells me to gain weight so that my hips can better support childbirth. Like every time she sees me I hear this, including when I was fighting cervical cancer. My only purpose in her eyes is to make babies, I guess. Aside from the fact you're a human and not a baby incubator, that's how it works. Gaining weight doesn't change your bone structure. Had a boomer aunt say how kids are so lucky today they don't have to do nuclear bomb drills. To her credit, when I said that, no, kids just have to do active shooter drills, her eyes went wide with realization that that was a more real threat than a nuke ever turned out to be. Small W for you. I was 19, still living with my parents, and talking about my boyfriend, and my older co-worker asked if we were going to get married. I told her I don't think either of us are really financially secure enough or old enough to take that step yet, and she patted my arm and said, "You're 19, you're an adult now. The money will come. Do it now before you regret it." I was just baffled. The money will come. From where ? Edit. I'm 33 now and getting married this year, to a different person than back then, and I'm so happy I never took that advice. And you missed out on 12 years of magic money. What a dummy. When you're feeling better. Dad, I'm disabled, because my body is made from your and mom's shitty broken DNA. I didn't get any help, he said, as he walked into a building with his dad's name on it. Edit. He embezzled all of grandpa's money and bankrupted the company and went to jail, so I can't work there. Also, he says he did it because God told him to and it was the right thing to do, and I should thank him for setting such a good example, as 9-year-old me watched my dad get taken away in handcuffs for a crime he absolutely committed. You win this thread. Which is maybe more like losing, though. Sorry, your dad just had no fucking clue.